Today has been a super powerful day. I got to interview Ozeal DeBastos from Ozeal Media, and in about 1 minute, you're going to get to watch that interview. That interview was so powerful in helping me achieve my goals. It's going to be twice as powerful in helping you achieve your goals. Today, it's just been such a powerful day. I woke up at 4 a.m. to play Uber to my son. It's so funny. He tricked me. He comes up to me the other day and goes, "Papa, can you do me a huge favor? Can you take me to the airport on Saturday?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'd love to take you to the airport." And then he says, "I'm going to email you my itinerary, okay?" I get to my computer later that evening after I said, "Yes, I'll take you." I look at the itinerary. His flight leaves at 7 a.m. That means it's a 35-minute drive to the airport. He's got to get there an hour to 2 hours, better 2 hours before the flight. We had to leave at 4:30 in the morning. Man, that was awesome. But my son did hook me up. He hooked me up as a judge at the Momentum Silver Street Indoor Rock Climbing Gym. Saturday, today, I was a judge and I got to judge all these amazing kids that, by the way, have goals. They've got goals to climb better. They go to these competitions to compete against other climbers and they've got to improve. So I know that you guys are going to enjoy today's interview. Let's get started. Hey, Ozeal, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Erik. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. So it's great to have you on. I want first, let's introduce you. So if you can tell everybody what you do, and please talk about VidHouston, PodHouston. Talk about what you do and how you help people out.
Sure. And first off, thank you so much, Erik, for inviting me. As a friend, when I got the invite, I was like, this is going to be really fun. So honored to be on the other side of the mic. So what do I do? What I'm doing now is I am helping brands, coaches, a lot of business owners now launch a top-rated podcast the strategic way. And I've been doing that for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I've been podcasting for over 8 years. So I'm considered what they call an OG, who got started roughly around 2011, 2012 is when I launched my first podcast. And from there, watching it grow into what it is now. And of course, now a lot of business owners, a lot of marketers, a lot of people who are building an online platform are now using podcasting in addition to video to share ideas, to share their stories, using it to market their message and humanize the business that they're a part of. So it's been fun working with a lot of business coaches and business owners this past couple of years. And I take them through a process called the Podcast 7W, which is a 7-week premium one-on-one coaching offer that I do, which basically takes them to building a brand, attracting their audience, and of course, creating a strategy to market and monetize their podcast.
And then you started the VidHouston group on Facebook and the PodHouston group on Facebook. And tell me a little bit about that and what got that started. What was the idea behind that?
So I started PodHouston about 4 years ago. That was inspired by a need that I felt needed to be served, which was there wasn't a podcasting community. There was Houston had a great blogging community. Yeah. And I went on meetup.com, Erik. I went on meetup.com and started this meetup. And I was like, where are the podcasters at? There's a lot of vloggers and a lot of bloggers, a great blogging community here. But where are the podcasters? So I started a meetup, which was first initially called Beginner Podcast. And I wanted to attract new people that were getting into the podcasting space. And it was going to be kind of like a podcast 101 type of meetup. And it was at Cafe Brazil here in Houston, Texas. Yep. We had about 20 people that showed up. It was a pretty nice turnout. And people were just so happy. Say, hey, listen, I'm looking to get into podcasting. Some of them already had established podcasts. And we're like, great, this is amazing. I've been wanting to network with other local podcasters. And from there, the group has grown over 2,000 in our email list. We have
Yeah.
about 1,500 or 1,300 or so in our Facebook group. So it's grown. And then I started VidHouston because, Erik, I'm a content creator first and foremost. I love podcasting. I love the conversation we're having today, and I think that's the beauty
Yeah.
of podcasting is that we are able to share ideas, talk about the things
Yeah.
that we love, and invite others to be a part of the conversation, right, through osmosis. So video has the same effect, and
Yep.
I wanted to get involved in the video community. So I started VidHouston because I also wanted to unite and bring video content creators together. So that was launched about, I want to say about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It started as a little meetup, once again, just like PodHouston. And then, of course, you're part of the VidHouston team, and it's
Yep.
grown. We've had a couple of few successful in-person events. And now we have a Facebook group, and that's growing. And just really excited to be a part of this community. I've always been a community builder ever since I was back in the music days, and I
Yeah.
believe in the power of community. I believe that community is currency. It's
Yeah.
luxury, and I think when we get together, it's always better together, right? When
Yep.
we unite and support each other. So that's where VidHouston was born, and now we have VidHouston, PodHouston, and they're both great platforms for content creators.
Yeah, and I joined VidHouston because I was looking for a community, right? And the whole idea for me to join VidHouston and find that community was to help me stay on track for my goals of creating content, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of like, what this interview is about is goals and achieving those goals. Because I started, I don't know what happened and why, but I started talking about goals on the new year because we were doing we did the Vlogmas challenge. That kind of inspired me to post every single day. And now, I came up with a goal to post 364 videos this year, right? And then being a part of a community really helps me stay on track, right? So, yeah. Now, so when you're helping your clients, you help them come up with goals, right? You strategize goals. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Sure. I think one of the most common mistakes that I see, even with coaches that are in this space and people that are getting into creating an online platform like a podcast, is not going into it, Erik, with a vision.
Yeah.
A lot of them see it and they're like, "Hey, I really think that's fun. I'm curious to start that thing. I want to
Yeah.
start podcasting. I see other people having success, but let me just jump in." And what I say is that I push back a little bit because I'm all about scratching your own itch. But if you really want to get serious and get committed to building a platform with your voice, a podcast, then you have to come into it just like anything else with a vision
Yeah.
and a mission. Having an internal mission and also having an external mission, and really getting super clear about why you're doing this. Because we know this, Erik, being in the business, that the most successful people are the ones that understand their why and who they're serving. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that's going to help you sustain the platform and keep going and keep consistent when you know exactly who you're serving and know your vision, and of course it evolves, but I think having that clarity is important. So what I do, Erik, with my clients is the first few sessions are really defining the brand.
Yeah.
And again, I don't help people just launch a podcast. I help them launch a podcast the strategic way. And part of cultivating that strategy is by understanding the individual or the business, understanding their vision and their mission and what they are trying to accomplish and convey with the podcast platform. So really dissecting that, immersing ourselves and asking the right questions of why you're starting this podcast, and then building a game plan from there. Because the easy thing is, having a microphone, having a laptop, that's all just tactics and mechanics and everything else. That's not really that important. If we're really trying to build a podcast platform or YouTube channel, we have to understand why you're doing it. So goal setting, Erik, going back to your question, is super vital to the success of the creator, because without having a goal, without having something that you can measure, you're just going to aimlessly start creating content with no real target audience or no real core mission of why you're doing the thing,
Yeah. And that's so important. And then like for people that want to enter the podcasting sphere, you're talking about vision and mission, and that's basically your why, right? So let's say something so simple as somebody wanting to, I don't like, let me use me for an example. I want to be able to do a one-arm pull-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a goal, just like podcasting. But then I've got to come up with my why. Something that's going to drive me. Why do I want to do a one-arm pull-up? I mean, and then what's my vision of that, and then that's going to help me achieve that, right?
That's right. I mean, it goes back to, as a matter of fact, I was writing about this, a little blog post, which I'm going to be turning into a podcast episode when I relaunch my podcast next month. And it was really about dissecting how to set goals effectively and how to change. And of course, everybody has a different a way of setting goals. But I like what you just said, Erik, is that, if you have something like a pull-up, understanding why. So for example, I've been on the journey this past few months to get fit again, to lose some weight.
Yeah.
The COVID weight came in and I was like, I really need to get back to it. So a lot of people make the mistake of setting goals like, I just want to get ripped. I want the 6-pack abs.
Yeah.
And that's great. But how about if you create goals are a series of habits first and foremost. And habit stacking is what creates and gets you to that goal. So let me explain to our viewers and our listeners what that looks like is if I'm looking to get fit, what are the things that I have to say yes to? But more importantly, what are the things that I have to say no to? So I had to say, Ozeal, let's assess. Let's be real with the situation. You're gonna have a sweet tooth, okay? Guilty here, Erik. You're eating butter croissants a little too much, man, and you're eating a little late after 9. So I had to say no to certain habits that were holding me back from my ultimate goal. So saying no to the things that are causing that thing, that are counter the result, right? Eating late, not getting enough sleep, eating processed foods, on and on and on, right? And saying no to that. So I made a list. So I suggest that, your viewers and listeners make a list of the things you have to say no to, and then make a list of the things that you have to say yes to. Because, in order to get to your yes, to be your bigger yes, you have to get really committed to your no's. And really understanding, get to know what is challenging me here. I read a book recently, and the guy talked about the mosquitoes, right? Know the mosquitoes around you that they're going to attack you while you're trying to achieve the goal. So once you understand what's distracting you and what are the challenges, I think it makes the individual, the creator, understand, much like launching a podcast, get clarity, which cultivates confidence. And that confidence is what's going to keep you consistent. So those are my little 3 C's there, Erik. Hopefully that makes sense.
That makes, and that is beautiful what you just said. Like, you've got to know your no's. What do you have to say no to? That's powerful, because I never thought about it that way. That is like, what's getting in the way of me being able to do a one-arm pull-up? Yeah, man. Sometimes I get a little lazy, and I'm like, man, I don't want to get up there and attach. Right now I'm at 55 pounds, so I put 55 pounds on me, and I do 2-arm pull-ups. So I've got to get to the point where I'm doing my whole body weight. So I got to put at least 100 pounds on me and do at least 5 pull-ups to get to the point where I can start doing 1 pull-up, right? With 1-arm pull-up, right? And I've been shying away from that, because it's not easy. It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't. And that's the thing, that feeling is the resistance. I mean, that's what a lot of people struggle with goal setting, is that resistance of what are the real hard things I got to do on a daily basis? So for example, if you're a fitness trainer and you're trying to get somebody to get fit, if you're coaching somebody, just have them walk, start out with walking. One of the things the habits that I started incorporating recently has been a game changer for me, Erik, was, even if I don't feel like, every morning I wake up and do 20 push-ups every morning. That's awesome. A small baby step to kind of get me going, to get physical and really get some results. And now I feel like I'm getting a lot more tone. I'm firming up just because I'm implementing that small baby step that's going to result into my bigger goal. So again, I'm a big believer in just taking those baby steps.
So taking that to, let's say podcasting, what would be a baby step for podcasters?
That's a great question.
To get into that, podcasting sphere. Because I'm sure it's the same for YouTube creators too,
One of the questions I always ask when people are trying to get into podcasting is, why you're doing this, but who are you going to serve?
Yeah.
And why that community?
Yeah.
So if you're going, one of the things that I do is I like to ask the question why, and really kind of dig in, why do you want to do this? But why? And really kind of peel back the layers of what, or what you're trying to accomplish. So it's annoying. And sometimes, my clients give me a little pushback, like, dude, I really don't get this. I just want to launch a podcast, Ozeal. Like, just give me the mechanics and, give me the cool, podcast art cover and get me on iTunes, etc. And I'm like, we can do that. And that's the easy part. Yeah. But the hard part is I want my clients to be successful, and I want them to be committed to the process, to be able to show up when nobody's listening, when they don't see the downloads. Yeah. And part of my goal, Erik, for them is for them to mentally get them ready for the non-applause, and get them ready for what does it look like to stay consistent. And one of the things that I actually recently read that really resonated with me is that a goal has to be, it has to be important to you, right? It has to be ambitious, right? But it also has to be daunting, and I think if you have those three components, I think if you really understand that, I think that's what's going to create a worthy goal. So, the important part is like, I really want to do this. The first part is kind of like, this excites me. The second part is important. Like this, I really want to do this. This is going to help and serve others. Like this ambition, this goal is outside of me, right? So once you satisfy yourself, you have to, hold on one second, Erik.
Yeah.
Somebody was calling. Let me restart the thing. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, buddy. Okay,
no worries. Yeah.
So, asking yourself, the first layer is for you. What excites you, right? Yeah. I want to start a podcast. This is amazing. I want to do this. Okay. Number one. Number two, why is it important?
Yep.
Outside of you. Well, I don't know. I think this is going to be fun. That's not going to work. Like that's not going to sustain you, because eventually you're going to deal, you know how it is as a creator. Like you're going to face some brick wall. Exactly. So that's why I say important is really getting the external mission. So for example, what does that look like? That looks like I'm here. Let me give a prime example. Divorced dads, right? So let's say I'm going to start a podcast that's going to serve men that are going through a divorce or post-divorce and helping them go through it, right? Okay, so that's just an example. So that may be important, exciting for me because I just recently got divorced and I want to help other men, right? So that's very exciting, right? To be a leading authority in that space. The second thing, important. Why is it important? Because I'm going to serve and help other men. And I'm going to create meetups and I'm going to do courses and I'm going to really serve them, my people, my men, helping them go through the transition after divorce, right? Life after divorce would be a great podcast. So, and then the last thing is daunting. And the daunting part is setting a goal like, I want to start a podcast that's called Life After Divorce for Men. Yeah. And I want this podcast within 12 months. I'm giving myself a time frame. Within 12 months, I want this podcast to be in the top 3% of podcasts, meaning I want this podcast to get 10,000 downloads a month, right? And that's the daunting component. And that daunting component is the scary part, Erik. Yeah. That's the part that's like, it looks a little way too hard. That's like a little bit far-fetched. But those are the edges. When you dance around the edges, it brings life and it gives that particular worthy goal a whole different dynamic and a whole different soul, like a whole different energy. So again, I think the first part, being ambitious about what excites you, what's important, the external mission. Yeah. And then of course, let's set up a goal that ties in something pretty scary and pretty audacious, pretty out there. And that could get you really excited. I like to do that like within a 12-month span. So that's kind of like a breakdown, Erik. I know I kind of went into, really deep into what it is, but that's essentially what I do with my clients because I want them to succeed. But I've had clients, Erik, where even before I have a discovery session before we start working together. And I've had some that are just like, I want to do this podcast. I'm willing to pay you. Yeah. And then I really start digging into their why, and I'm honest with them. I say, hey, I don't know if this is going to be the thing. I mean, I could help you. I mean, I'll be more than happy to take your money and help you launch a podcast. But listening to you, I don't think you're going to hang in there. And I
Yeah.
can hear the excuses already. Like,
Yeah.
the microphone, is it going to pay itself? Can I make money in 6 months? I want to have sponsors like Joe Rogan. You
Yeah.
start hearing all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all the mosquitoes. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to work out for you. So I'm going to pass on this because I
Yeah.
want you to invest, but I want you to look back and give me an amazing testimonial. And I want you to look back and be like, this was an amazing investment because this coach, Ozeal, helped me get clarity and helped me get confidence and helped me create a consistency through my podcast that will get me to that ultimate goal.
That's big. That's very big. I mean, and it's funny because while we're talking, I was remembering I did a book review on talent is overrated. What separates world class performers from everybody else, and they talk a lot about the why. Like you're talking about it. And it's that why that keeps you in the game, because to become a world class performer, you have to stay in the game. It's and you got to experience a lot of failure, but you got to stay in the game, and that's kind of like that's the why.
And also, yes, Erik, to all of that.
Yeah.
Start with Why. Simon Sinek is a book that kind of sparked the whole why movement, and I'm a big believer in it. But even more, let's go deeper into that. I think what we could be doing in creating goals and what I do with my clients is check in with your why. Like, don't just set the why and be like, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to launch this thing and then never look back. Because the why will evolve.
Yeah, it changes.
It will change. And I think it's important for you to assess. That's why I'm pretty big on like Q1, Q2, and really checking in every 3 months of like, okay, what am I doing? Like, am I aligned with my goals and my values? Like, what am I doing here? So checking in and having that conversation with yourself is very important for everybody to do. And make sure that you're aligned with your why and that you're staying on par, aligned with it. It's super, super important.
Yeah, like my one-arm pull-up, right? Why do I want to do a one-arm pull-up? I mean, it's not just for the ego of getting that one-arm pull-up. It's, it's like I've got a deeper meaning into it, and I want to be able to climb advanced routes in rock climbing, right?
There you go.
So being able to do a one-arm pull-up gets me into higher levels of rock climbing, and ever since I started doing weighted pull-ups, I've had a big jump in my level of rock climbing, so that why for me, I mean, I don't think I would be able to sustain training because I've been wanting to do a one-arm pull-up for a long time, but I've never really sustained training for it because I didn't know my why, I didn't really, I was like, oh yeah, it's cool. I want to be cool. I want to do one-arm pull-up. And I just couldn't sustain it. I would drop off. And then finally, I've got if I can do a one-arm pull-up, I'll be able to climb at higher levels. Then I really started training for it, and it really helped me a lot. But also community, right? So you're a coach, and you help keep people accountable because I read in some books, there's three things that you should do. You should write down your goals, right? Then you should share them with a friend, or like and then you should have check-ins with that friend, right? But then you're a coach, so you're like that friend that helps people stay on track, right? So tell me about that a little bit. How do you manage that?
I'm a big advocate for coaching.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always like that. I was always had the superhero syndrome, and I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to do it all. And the knowledge is there, and there's YouTube, and sure, there's all of that, of course. But what coaches bring to the space is powerful in many ways. So a coach can accelerate the process. Yeah. Right. I would say there's a cost to whether you invest in a coach or you don't. If you don't, you're gonna invest it in time. Yeah. Maybe wasting a lot more money than you could have been. And there's stress, frustration. This area going down the rabbit hole of researching. Trying to get the best equipped. I've had clients like that. Yes, mistakes. Hello. Yes. Yeah. But with coaching and what I bring to the table, and I believe many coaches out there that are watching, listening can relate, is the power of accountability. Yep. And the majority of the time, I want to be honest with you, Erik, and my ex-clients who are watching this know this, a lot of the times I'm actually pulling them off the ledge. Yep. That's really a lot of my coaching.
Yeah.
And because I know how easy it is to get here, to get in your head, to get filled with the imposter syndrome, to be 3 weeks in thinking to yourself, well, geez, did I really make the right investment?
Yeah.
Should I really be doing this podcast thing? Or, oh my God, it's going to be a lot of work. I don't know if this is, and really having the other voice get in your head to discourage you from starting the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
From launching and doing something different and that excites you. And that's why the why is very important, because we'll go back to that, we'll be like, let's go back to step number one of why you're doing this. Because if you know, again, why you're doing this, why it's important, and it's a daunting and have that established goals, then we can keep going through this process onward. But accountability, Erik, is super important. That's something that I got. Having a coach really hold me accountable, and I do the same thing with my clients. Support, Erik, is, as you know, that's the reason why I started VidHouston and PodHouston, because I know that as a creator, sometimes people don't get it. Our family members don't get it. Maybe our loved ones don't even get it sometimes. And I wanted to create a space where people could be felt and could be heard, could be seen, and say, I get it. I know what you're going through. Creative burnout. I feel you, Erik. I completely understand. Man, I'm struggling with consistency. I understand. So having that support is important. So either seeking it in a community, like VidHouston or PodHouston, right, for podcasters, but having a coach say, hey, listen, I really need your support. I really need you to hold me accountable and make sure that I fulfill this goal of mine that matters. That's a worthy goal of mine. And I think it's super, super important for coaching. And I think that's the majority of what I do, Erik, is, and I love doing it because I see a lot of myself in that. I'm like, I know exactly what you're going through. And let me help you out. Because one of the things that I've discovered is that when you're in the journey, it's kind of hard to assess yourself and really assess the problems and gather the lessons from it and then make the adjustments. What ends up happening is that you get caught up in the hamster when you make the problems, you get frustrated, and then you don't seek out help or have a community to lean onto. And now you're just making the same mistakes, and now you're burning out, and now you're like, forget it. Let me just go ahead and just switch careers or do something completely different. And it's unfortunate,
And the interesting thing is that a lot of people don't realize that, all the Olympic athletes, all the pro athletes that are making millions and millions of dollars, they all have coaches,
all
it's
of them.
It's like,
several coaches.
They've got, And then we're trying to become successful, and we don't look for hiring a coach. We think we can do it on our own. That's kind of funny. That's funny. Except for the few people that do, they're most of the very successful people do have coaches. So it's kind of interesting.
And part of investing in a coach and getting coached, what's been really hard is, and I've been seeing it too recently, is, there are people that are coachable and there are people that unfortunately are not. And unfortunately, the ones that don't want to invest in themselves, whether it's personal growth, which you and I are very big on, or in our case, with what we're doing with podcasting, it's going to cost you anyway. So make the investment, and just, get rid of the ego, man. The people that just don't get coaches are the ones that just have, it's ego talking. And I'm like, ego ain't going to get you nowhere. It's not going to get you to the next level. And if you're complaining, you want to build an online brand, online platform, and do something that really excites you, that's worthy, that really lights up your soul, you have to invest. You have to invest. I mean, there's just no question about it. So, you're right. I mean, it's talented is overrated. And I think people are definitely born with natural gifts, but the ones that invest and get coaches at an early age or whatever age, but get coaching period, are the ones that ultimately win. And it's been, and you've seen that, you read the book, it's been seen in sports, it's been seen in movies, and the people that in online space, you see it, they get the coaching, get the courses, invest, execute, and then pivot, and then make the moves from there.
And it's funny because lately, and this is like, this started a couple of days ago for me, maybe 3 or 4 days ago for me. All of a sudden on my YouTube homepage, I'm seeing all these, there's a lot of YouTubers coming out calling out a lot of these gurus, calling them fake gurus, like who's I saw Dan Locke, a big one on Dan Locke, a big one on, so they're like starting to call them out because, sometimes I think it's important to find a coach that's not mass marketing either, right? No. Like if you have a mass marketing coach, you're not really buying into a coach. You're just getting sold a program,
That's one of the challenges that I've had as a creator, but more as, now kind of leaning in and stepping into this coaching world is sometimes, I do have a marketing background, meaning just grassroots marketing, not traditional, but just guerrilla style marketing. Yeah. And I felt like I haven't really been marketing my coaching service. And I think part of that resistance, Erik, is, as you said, there's a lot of people that, hey, and they're just, and I get it. I think there's different levels of marketing. And I'm like, I really don't want to get caught up in this, coaching marketing. Like I can, make you $1 million and I'm very careful about that. So one of the advice that I actually gave to somebody who is currently trying to build a career as a coach, and it's actually advice that I need to give myself, and I see it, is, she was asking me, I want to coach. I want to be a motivational coach.
Yep.
And then my reply to that, Erik, was, then coach, then show up.
Yep.
She's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm like, if you're really passionate about the thing that you want to motivate people, then hit live right now on Facebook and share a story. Share something that can help people overcome anxiety or stress or overthinking or imposter syndrome or on and on and on, coach.
Yep.
And to me, what I've loved to, I'm trying to get into this space now in 2022 where I show up a lot more because I know I have a lot here to say. Like, this excites me, Erik. Normally people talk to me about the mechanics of podcasting, but this conversation excites me because now I'm really leaning deeper into my coaching career.
Yep.
I love doing this and I want to do more of it. And I know that I'm doing maybe 10% of what I could be doing and the impact that I could be making on the world. So much like you with the YouTube and podcasters, I'm like, if you want to make a difference and want to make an impact, right? The ultimate goal may be like, I want this to be a full-time job. Great. That's amazing. Yeah. But in between that, you got to show up. Yep. And showing up is hitting record, publishing content, going live, doing video content, showing up, giving. And then what's the beautiful thing about marketing, what happens is that by showing up as a giver, you're marketing yourself as somebody who is trusted, who could be trusted, somebody who's going to show up consistently, and somebody who's really committed to the message, somebody who's really committed to humanizing their business. And once you show up, what happens is that the universe starts flipping the script. And now people, because you're visible, now you're getting coaching inquiries and people are like, I want to hire you. And I've seen it before, Erik. When I do it, I'm getting clients. And when I don't show up, it's like the universe is like, wake up, Ozeal. Come on, show up. Let's go. Because when you show up, that's when people start showing up for you, period.
I heard that, and you've probably heard this too, that showing up is 80% of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I heard that. I think I heard that maybe like 30 years ago.
So true, though.
Yeah.
So true. It's just showing up, getting in, getting into the gym. Like the hardest part of getting to the gym, I was doing something in the morning where recently I just changed up my morning ritual where I was waking up in the morning, doing my push-ups and then heading to the gym. And I remember, and I used to do it, but the hard part was just, putting on those, sweatpants and like, getting in the gym. But once you're in the gym, putting in and doing your first few, reps, now you're like in the game. You're like, all right, baby, let's go, bring it on, let's go. It's always hard to kind of step in and start. But once you get in the game, it's game time.
So I'm one of my other goals for this year is to run 4 10Ks, which is 6.2 miles every other day, right? And that's what I've been telling my wife. It's like, the hardest part is starting. Once I'm there, once I've shown up, and I take those first 5 steps of running, the rest is easy. It's like it's really weird. I mean, and then 6 miles is it's if you're doing it every other day, it's not easy.
One of the things that I said recently in a podcast, and I said, being ready,
Uh-huh.
is not a feeling. Like, you're
Yep.
never gonna feel, ready.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, being ready and doing the thing is a mentality. It's an attitude.
Yep.
So when I get that sometimes with people who want to start a podcast, it's like, Ozeal, how are you when I'm ready? I'm like, you're never going to be ready.
Yeah. You're
I'm
never ready.
sorry. Like, you're
Yeah.
never going to be
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
Ready is a decision.
Yeah.
Ready is making a choice to say, I want to do this thing, and I'm going to start. I'm going to get
Yeah.
coached, and I'm going to do the thing. So being ready is a decision. It's
Yep.
not a feeling, because you're never going to feel like you need to get to the gym
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and
Never.
early in the morning,
Yeah.
or outlining a script for your YouTube or
Yeah.
starting a podcast. You're never going to feel, being ready is staying ready
Yep.
and having the discipline and making that decision to execute on your ideas and executing on your habits every single day. And that's the key to success, man. Really.
Well, Ozeal, this has been great, man. I really think that this is going to help a lot of people. This is
Hope so,
definitely
man.
going to help a lot of people, and I really appreciate you. Is there anything else you want to add? Because we're going to wrap it. I think I'm trying to shoot for like 30 minutes on these,
Mm-hmm.
and if there's anything you want to wrap up with, I'd really appreciate that.
Oh, this has been fun, man.
Yeah.
Embarking on a new year, I just want to encourage our viewers and our listeners to give yourself permission to do the thing that's important, to do the thing that's daunting, to do something that has been on your mind, has been on your heart for quite some time, but you just, are allowing that other voice to keep it down and not, you feel, threatened by, others' opinions and thoughts and being criticized. And I want to challenge you that we have, one at bat in life that we know of. And I want to challenge you this year to give yourself permission to start, to give yourself permission to show up consistently, to show up authentically as who you are. Because when you show up as who you are the gift. You are the medicine, to somebody else's struggle, to somebody else's pain. So if you show up and share your story, launch a podcast or a YouTube channel, but if you show up, you can make a positive dent in this world. And I truly believe that we all have the gift and the capability to do that. So show up, give yourself permission. And Erik, I just want to thank you for just giving me this platform to be able to share my love for coaching, for helping people launch podcasts to humanize their message and brand. And I'm just really grateful, man, and honored that we continue to be friends since the beginning when we first met at a VidHouston event. And then, of course, having you a part of the team and then building together, because you've been very big on community, and I'm seeing you show up consistently. I mean, you're blowing my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I need to step my game up. Erik is in a whole different level, but you are the epitome and you are the prime example of somebody who's showing up, not expecting the applause, and you have a message that's deep in your heart and you just want to share that with the world. And that's beautiful. And I hope that people see that and follow that, because true leadership is not information. True leadership is demonstration. When you demonstrate your leadership through action and giving to others and serving your community, that's when the magic happens. So I encourage all of you to do the same thing. Erik, thank you so much for inviting me, brother. And I hope we can do this again. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We will do this again. Thank you, Ozeal. That was one hell of an interview. My biggest takeaway from the interview today with Ozeal was you got to learn to say no to those things that are going to stop you from accomplishing your goals. That was big because, that hit me. Like, that really hit me. You've got to learn what to say no to. Those things that get in the way. Ozeal, thank you so much for that amazing interview. Man, that helped me a lot, and I hope it's going to help everybody out there. And, of course, guys, in the description below, you'll find a link to Ozeal's website, Ozeal's VidHouston Facebook group, Ozeal's PodHouston Facebook group. Hit him up. If you're interested in starting up a podcast and want to look out for a coach, there is a free 30-minute consultation link in the description below that you can just click on. It'll set you up directly with Ozeal to have a 30-minute consult with him. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.